So because of everything that's been happening with Bernie and then the Warren and back and forth, there was recently a need for Bernie to come up with something, something else, because there was a lot of the trolls out there saying Bernie's done, Bernie's this, and so a lot of his supporters have been fighting against that narrative. So Bernie Sanders, of course, didn't disappoint, and we knew he would have a plan to get money out of politics, but his plan here is very detailed and it's unprecedented. So I took the liberty to just break it down into bullet points because you can actually go read it on his website. But I'm going to go through the thread of the basic things he is talking about doing. So here on the tweet I have, he is going to ban corporate contributions to the Democratic Party conventions and committee, which is still happening now. The corporations and these lobbyists go and give pretty much just sway people to shift their loyalty just by telling them, hey, I'm going to do this for you. I'm going to do that for you.
Yeah.
He's going
Don't they have the conventions? The last convention, I think we were making fun of it. It was sponsored by like
Oh,
AT&T. We're going to be grassroots Democrats, sponsored by AT&T. They had all these major corporations. With the last conventions.
All of them, even the ones here in California.
Yeah, we had problems with that over here.
He's going to update and strengthen the Federal Election Campaign Act. He is also going to return to mandatory public funding for national party conventions. So again, this gets rid of the lobbyist money. And then we also have banning all corporate donations for inaugural events for President of the United States, and to cap the individual donations. So of course, these corporations, once you become president, come and cater to you. And he's also going to overturn the Supreme Court ruling saying that money is considered speech, which was Buckley versus Vallejo. I remember that. I remember learning about that. And he's also going to end the super PACs political money by 501c4s and other organizations accepting unlimited contributions that then they in turn can give to these candidates, like we've seen with Elizabeth Warren. He's also going to do a hugely important thing,
Biggest
which is
one.
overturning Citizens United. This is crucial. I think the majority of Democrats at this point should support this if they have any sense, because it's pretty popular.
That was always an excuse, like when people would say, oh, Obama has to take this money and stuff like that. Until Citizens United is abolished, we have to play by those rules.
Right.
Well, a man by the name of Bernie Sanders came along and said, F that, you know what, because he did it without all these big corporations' money, so he led the way. Obama, I think, showed a lot of stuff with going online, getting a lot of money on Facebook, getting a lot of money from the individual donors, but nothing like Bernie has done. And he stayed away from Wall Street, he stayed away from the military-industrial complex, and he stayed away from Big Pharma. And he showed us the way.
And he's got 1 million different donors, which is huge. He's going to abolish the FEC and replace it with the Federal Elections Administration, which is just going to be better and more specific. He's also going to end the influence of corporation in the DNC by banning donations from federal lobbyists and corporations, passing mandatory public financing laws for all federal elections, and banning advertising during the press primary debates, which is also part of that whole thing where they advertise.
He's taken the step from a lot of, he's seen stuff over in Europe and other areas where, I'm saying, there's no corporations, there's no sponsors. It's public access. They make sure it's available to everybody, has a limited amount of time, a limited amount of money, and not one candidate can get way overfunded as the other one gets no funding. So the principle is going to really come out of what these candidates are really all about.
Absolutely. So. And then he's also going to institute a lifetime lobbying ban for former members of Congress and senior staffers, which of course is a conflict of interest and it shouldn't happen, but it's still happening. So the link is there if you guys want to look at it, and you guys can see that it's very specific. It's a specific and detailed plan. And it's really like Bernie to do that. I would add to that. I would add a sort of kind of in coalition with that. I would add something like what Tulsi put out, the Securing Our Elections Act, where there is a paper ballots trail always, that there is ranked choice voting, that there are that there's more security in our elections, not just from foreign agents, but from our own party members. And that's something I would add to it. But other than that, I think it's pretty specific, well documented, and Elizabeth Warren is not going to be able to come up with something as specific as that.
Institute a lifetime lobbying ban for former members of Congress and senior staffers. This is a big one. This is one that Donald Trump did talk about it. They all become lobbyists. he said with his little speech, "We've vowed to drain the swamp," but he never really went through it.
Right.
He drained the swamp, found his cabinet on the bottom, and there's still people from Goldman Sachs and all these other companies that are highly engaged in our Constitution and in our elections and everything else as far as our politics are concerned. But there's also another thing we should talk about too as well. We need to make sure that anybody from the intelligence community, once they are done and they leave the intelligence community, they should not be able to go into involved in any type of media for 5 years.
Yeah.
Okay, so the fact they're going right to MSNBC, right to CNN, the deep state is actually working in conjunction with our media to brainwash our citizens and curve our narrative, the narrative, the way they want to. And it's highly dangerous, highly deadly. I love this here. We need to get rid of the lobbyists in this country. We need to get rid of these people who have all these high level of clearance going on and peddling their deep state narrative on main corporate news channels. It's bad.
Right. And Bernie Sanders makes it clear that some of these politicians go into it with good intentions, but it's almost like they can't take on the system. They get corrupted. It's really hard. And he's held his own for a really long time. And I think that's something admirable. If even if you don't like him, I think it's something that's like, wow, like he's at least been pretty consistent in his 40 years in service. So,
all right.